Hello and welcome to the Europe Conversation. I'm Stefan Grobe. My guest today is Glenn Micallef, EU Commissioner for Intergenerational Fairness, Culture, Youth and Sport. Appropriately so, I should say, because at age 36, he's one of the youngest commissioners ever. Commissioner, thank you so much for coming on the program today.
Thank you, Stefan, and thank you for this opportunity to speak about the areas of my portfolio, which are areas that are so dear to European citizens.
And I'm all the more excited that you are joining me today because you're just rushing out of a meeting with your fellow commissioners where you presented and launched a new program, the Culture Compass for Europe. Now, tell us all about it. What is it and why do we need it?
So, Stefan, for me, this is a very exciting day. We've just adopted in college the Culture Compass for Europe. It's a strategy which is bold, ambitious, strategic and impactful. And our objective here is for this to be a game changer for the cultural sector. It's a strategy that is a long-term vision of what we want to achieve in the cultural sector, essentially celebrating our diversity, our rich diversity in the European Union. And we say that Europe is a continent that embraces its unity in diversity. And diversity starts with culture. We have a diversity of languages in the European Union, 24 official languages, and 60 regional and minority languages. We have a rich heritage, both tangible and intangible heritage. Europe is home to the largest number of UNESCO World Heritage Sites. And this is a sector that contributes significantly to our economy. So to put this in perspective, this is a sector that contributes 200 billion euro annually in value added to our economies. It employs 8 million people, and 40% of our tourism is cultural tourism. So these are significant contributions to our societies, to our democracy, but also to our competitiveness.
That you mentioned democracy. Can culture be a counterforce to extremism, defending democracy?
Look, culture, when artists are free to express themselves, when they are free to artistically express their voices, then democracy has a voice. So what we want to do is we want to strengthen artistic freedom. We want to give the opportunity for people to be able to access more easily our culture and our heritage in Europe, because this is one of the most effective shields that we have to division and extremism. And this is why I say continuously that if we invest in culture, it pays back twice. It pays today and tomorrow, but it also helps us promote the values that the Union stands for, which is dialogue, communication, encouraging people to think critically and to empathize. And these are a translation of our values into action through culture.
And how can art be shielded from political influence? You mentioned freedom of expression already, because as it happened, a concert with an Israeli conductor was cancelled because of the Gaza crisis some time ago. What's your take? Where are you coming down on this?
Stefan, freedom of artistic expression is the essential precondition for the enjoyment of culture. So our ambition here is to encourage and promote and protect and preserve our cultural diversity. We want to ensure that we have a strong political commitment. This is why we, in our cultural compass, one of the first flagship actions that we propose is a reaffirmation of the values that we hold so dear. At political level, this is why we're proposing a joint declaration between the Parliament, the Council and the Commission, making a strong political statement of what values we want to promote.
You once said, "I want culture to pay the rent," calling for real change in how Europe supports its creative forces, its artists. What prompted that heartfelt remark?
I didn't say it once, I said it more than once, and I will continue to say it. Because people create culture. And there is no art, there is no culture without artists and creative professionals. And the Culture Compass makes this very clear. Culture evolves through people, through artists and to creators, and they are the ones who bring the cultural sector to life. So they deserve dignity. The reality is here that in Europe we have 8 million people working in this sector, which is roughly 4% of our working population. To put things into perspective, this is almost the amount of people that we have working in the agricultural sector. Yet this is a sector that faces many challenges. So you have atypical working hours, seasonality impacting the sector, poor working conditions, and lack of protection and support. Half of the people that are working in this sector say that they face poor working conditions. And close to 70% say that they have to work more than one job to be able to make ends meet. And this means that if we continue to allow this to happen, it will be very hard for the cultural sector to attract and to retain talent. So if we want to unlock the potential that culture can contribute to our society, but also to our economies, this must change. And culture must pay the rent.
And what exactly is the remedy? I mean, you're dealing with national governments who are in charge of culture.
I'm getting to this. So I've been, for the last 10 months, speaking to stakeholders in the sector, artists, writers, publishers. And many of them, they long to dedicate themselves to their artistic work. But they can't, because they don't afford it. And they feel, and this is the takeaway that I get from the consultations that I have, that we expect them to work for free, voluntarily, and without compensation. So we're proposing an EU charter on the rights of the artist, on the status of the European artist. We want to kickstart that discussion immediately in December, when we have the high-level roundtable on artists' working conditions. And this is a forum where we will also present best practices that have worked in member states to improve working conditions.
You've been at the Cannes Film Festival earlier this year.
Yeah.
Is the European film industry strong enough to face the current challenges? And I name a few: Hollywood, digital transformation, fragmented production, and distribution.
So can I speak a little bit about
Absolutely.
my views on the digital transition? Because the digital transition and the new technologies, particularly artificial intelligence, are ones where we have to have a future outlook to. We have to embrace these technologies. In the cultural sector, these are technologies that are having they're leaving a profound impact. And these sectors and these industries, including the film industries, have been increasingly using these technologies. They are a huge opportunity for the sector, but only if the conditions are right. And our focus here should be for these sectors to embrace these technologies, for these technologies to contribute to more innovation and to the sectors becoming more competitive, and more importantly, that these technologies reinforce and enable human creativity. And this is why we also propose in the Culture Compass an AI strategy for the cultural and creative sectors to help transform the challenges that these sectors face into opportunities. And out there are genuine concerns in some of these sectors. Mm-hmm. As I said, I've been having consultations for the last 10 months. I've spoken to representatives, for example, of the books and publishing sector. And they are alarmed at the astonishing pace at which some books, some titles are being published. So some authors publishing almost one title a day, which is shocking. And this is why we're proposing to build on the AI action plan, the initiatives by EVP Verkunen, and complement them with a dedicated strategy for AI in the cultural and creative sector industries, where we propose 3 pillars for action. The first is to foster innovation in these sectors by promoting collaboration between artists and creators and the digital sector, promoting the ethical use of artificial intelligence, and finally, identifying the support and the adaptations needed in the sector to be able to protect both content and the creators. And this is, to me, the fundamental point, that rights holders, those who come up with the content, remain in control of their work.
Now, I asked you about the film industry.
Yeah.
Now you're ending up about books. I want you to answer a film question, if I may. What are your favorite movies? Name 1 or 2 or 3.
My favorite ever would be Gladiator. It's a movie that was shot in Malta, where I come from, and it was released, if I'm not mistaken, in the year 2000. Yeah. So I remember watching it in the cinema.
You mentioned artificial intelligence. Yeah. Do you see this, or let me ask it differently, how can AI be an inspiration for the arts?
Well, the movie sector is a showcase of how artificial intelligence has been used, not now, it has been used for at least a decade. So I've been in one of my consultations leading up to the adoption of the Culture Compass. I've been to an investment financed also using European funding of a film academy in Spain. This was an academy that it was encouraging young students to enter the film industry, contributing to the industry, but also teaching them new skills that are needed to make productions even better than they are today. And this is what I mean when I say we have to embrace these technologies, use them to our advantages, and at the same time work with the creators and the content, those who come up with the content, to get something that we don't get from any machine, which is human imagination. That will never be replaced.
I want to pivot to youth, part of your portfolio as well. And as we were speaking about artificial intelligence, there is the concern that especially young people are suffering from the fact that many entry-level jobs in the service sector, white-collar jobs, are being replaced by artificial intelligence. And a lot of young people are having problems getting into the job market. Where do you come down on this? Is this a real concern?
Look, these are technologies that will change the labor market. They will have structural changes on the labor market. But it makes it all the more important that we invest in initiatives that promote upskilling, reskilling, and quality jobs. That is what this commission has been very busy doing since the initial days of the mandate. Initiatives like the Union of Skills by EVP Menzato, the AI action plan by EVP Verkoen, all place a huge emphasis on the need for investments in this area to equip our workforces, youth and beyond, with the right tools that we need to make the best use of these technologies.
Another problem that youngsters are facing is mental problems. And according to the World Health Organization, there are roughly 20% of young people in the EU who suffer from mental problems. I'm sure you are aware of that problem. What can we do? What can the Commission do? What can the people in the Council do to find a solution to this?
Look, our figures are showing an even more alarming situation. That this is no longer a priority. This is an emergency now. We have 1 in 2 young people, so half of our younger generation, that reports that they have struggled with some kind of mental health issue, be it depression, anxiety, or some other form of disorders. This is, to the way I see it, linked to quality of life. And here, again, I see a huge role for the cultural sector. To me, improving cultural offers for youth, but also more broadly for our populations, can be a healthy alternative, for example, to excessive screen time. Excessive screen time, which, in my opinion, is directly linked to the problems that we see with mental well-being, not to mention the negative psychological, physical, and emotional effects it has on younger generations. But improving cultural offers can actually make a huge difference. We see this also through our work promoting the intersection and the collaboration between culture and well-being. And this is one of the areas where we emphasize and put a lot of effort in the Culture Compass. So we want to improve the access to culture for youth, more specifically.
What about the access to sports? There's the mental health, there's also the physical health, and the problem of obesity is becoming bigger and bigger. How do you get, especially young people, to be more active?
We have an epidemic of inactivity nowadays. We have, in our populations, almost half of our citizens that are not active physically, not even an hour a week. And this is linked to a huge problem that we have in terms of non-communicable diseases, so cardiovascular issues, diabetes, and health expenditures that we see soaring. But beyond the expenditures, it's leaving an impact on the well-being of our population. So sport could be a free medicine, a free remedy to these challenges that we face. Our ideas, our thinking there is to promote sports even further among population. We've just come out of the European Week of Sport, where we have across the European Union, towards the end of September, a celebration of sport at grassroots level, but also at higher level, encouraging people to be physically active. It's not about competition. It's not about going to the Olympics. It's about waking up in the morning, putting on your running shoes, going for a walk, and being active. That makes you physically stronger and healthier, but also mentally.
I know you love football.
Yes.
You were a vice president of a club in Malta.
Yes.
You no longer having that job, but you were. I want to know, how do you see attempts to revive the European Super League in Europe, independent from UEFA?
I will tell you a very direct answer on this.
Please.
The Super League was, is, and will continue to be a mistake. This is not a good idea. This is not the way we innovate in sport. In Europe, we believe in open competition, in sport based on merit, and qualification to these European level competition should be based on sporting merit. And this way, we could also support our European domestic leagues to continue to be sustainable.
Would that only cement the English dominance over European football, a Super League independent from UEFA?
Look, it's no secret that European football, European sport, faces challenges from a sustainability point of view. There are various issues that are contributing to this, including heavy match calendars, including pressures on the financial side. And that just means that we have to bring all the stakeholders, work together to find common solutions. It will take a common effort. It will take stakeholders sitting around the same table in an inclusive way, accepting everyone around the table. I've been shocked to see over the last few days discussions on athletes' welfare, for example, without the union representing the athletes being around the table. No, these are discussions that we need to have in an inclusive environment with all stakeholders around the table and working towards common solutions.
And a question to the football fan then, how do we stop the English dominance in football in Europe?
It needs investment and collaboration. And of course there are ways where we could innovate, like maybe exploring innovative formats for the way that our leagues are organized, but that doesn't mean that we take away sport away from the communities. I think most of the clubs in Europe owe their successes to the local communities, and that is something that we have to preserve for sure.
All right. Commissioner Glenn Micallef, thank you so much for coming
Stefan.
on the show today.
Thank you.